ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. I want to happily welcome each one of you for another wonderful day in the month of Kartik. Let's begin our discussion by singing the verses of the 12th chapter of the 10th canto, and then we will continue our discussion for today. Shri Shuka Uvacha क्वचिद्वनाशाय मनो ददत्प्रजात् प्रातः समुत्थाय वयस्य वत्सपान् प्रबोधयन् शृङ्गरवेण चारुणा विनिर्गतो वत्स पुरःसरो हरि तेनैव साकं पृतुका सहस्रशः स्निग्धासु शिक्वेत्र विषाणवेणवः स्वान् स्वान् सहस्रोपरिसङ्ख्ययान्वितान् वत्सान् पुरस्कृत्य विनिर्ययुर्मुदा कृष्णवत्सैरसङ्ख्यातैर्यूथीकृत्य स्ववत्सकान् चारयन्तोर्भलीलाभिर्विजहृस्तत्र तत्रः फलप्रवालस्तबकः सुमनःपिच्छधातुभिः काचकुञ्जामणिस्वर्णभूषिता अप्यभूषयन् मुष्टन्तोऽन्योन्यशिक्यादीन् ज्ञातान् आराच्य चिक्षिपुः तत्रत्याश्च पुनर्दूराद् हसन्तश्च पुनर्ददो यदि दूरं गतः कृष्णो वनशोभेक्षणायतम् अहं पूर्वम् इति संस्पृश्य रेमिरे केचिद्वेणुन् वादयन्तोद्मान्तशृङ्गाणि केचन केचित् भृङ्गै प्रगायन्तः कूजन्तः कोकिलै परे विच्छायाभिप्रधावन्तो गच्छन्तः साधुहंसकै बकैरुपविशन्तश्च नृत्यन्तश्च कलापिभिः विकर्षन्तः कीशबालान् आरोहन्तश्च तैद्रुमान् विकुर्वन्तश्च तैः साकं प्लवन्तश्च पलाशिषु साकं भेकैर्विलङ्घन्तः सरितः स्रवसम्प्लुता विहसन्तः प्रतिच्छाया शपन्तश्च प्रतिस्वनान् इत्थं सतां ब्रह्मसुखानुभूत्या दास्यं गतानां परदैवतेन मायाश्रितानां नरदार्यकेण साकं विजह्रो कृतपुण्यपुञ्जा यत्पादपांसोर्बहुजन्मकृच्छ्रतो धृतात्मभियोगिभिरप्यलभ्यः स एव यदृग्विषयः स्वयं स्थितः किं वर्ण्यतेदिष्टमतो व्रजौकसाम् अथागनामाभ्यपतन्महासुरस्तेषां सुखक्रीडनवीक्षणाक्षमः नित्यं यदन्तर्निजजीवितेप्सुभिः पीतामृतैरप्यमरैः प्रतीक्षते दृष्ट्वार्बकान् कृष्णमुखानघासुर कंसानुशिष्टः स बकीबकानुज अयं तु मे सोदरनाशकृतयोर्द्वयोर्ममैनं सबलं हनिष्ये एते यदा mat-suhṛदोस्तिलाप kṛtās तदा naṣṭa-samā vrajaukasaḥ प्राणे गते वर्ष्मसु कानुचिन्ता prajāsavaḥ-prāṇa-bhṛto हि एते इति व्यवस्याजगरं बृहद्वपुः स योजनायाम-mahādri-pīvaram धृत्वाद्भुतं vyātta-guhānanaṁ तदा pathi vyaśeta grasanāśayā धराधरोष्ठो जलादोत्तरोष्ठो dary-ānanānto giri-śṛṅga-daṁṣṭraḥ dhvāntāntar-āsyo vitatādhva-jihvaḥ paruṣānila-śvāsa-davekṣaṇoṣṇaḥ दृष्ट्वा तं तादृशं सर्वे मत्वा वृन्दावनश्रियं व्याता-जगरतुण्डेन ह्युत्प्रेक्षन्ते स्म लीलया अहो मित्राणि गदत सत्त्वकूटं पुरस्थितः अस्मत्सङ्ग्रसनव्यातव्यालतुण्डाय तेन वा सत्यम् अर्ककरारक्तम् उत्तराहनुवद्घनम् अधराहनुवद्रोधस्तत्प्रतिच्छाययारुणं प्रतिस्पर्धेते सर्कभ्यां सव्यासव्येन गोदरे तुङ्गशृङ्गालयोऽप्येतास्तद्दंष्ट्राभिश्च पश्यत आस्त्रितायाममार्गोऽयं रसनां प्रति गर्जति येषाम् अन्तर्गतं ध्वान्तम् एतदप्यन्तराननं दावोष्णखरवातोऽयं श्वासवद् भाति पश्यत तद्दग्धसत्त्वदुर्गन्धोऽप्यन्तरामीशगन्धवत् अस्मान् किमत्र ग्रसितानिविष्टान् अयं तथा चेद्बकवद् विनङ्क्षति क्षणादनेनेति बकार्युषण्मुखं वीक्षोधसन्तः करताडनैर्ययो इत्थं मिथो तत्यमतज्ञभाषितं श्रुत्वा विचिन्त्येत्यमृषा मृषायते रक्षो विदित्वाखिलभूतहृत्स्थित स्वानां निरोद्धुं भगवान् मनो दधे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः हरे कृष्ण. Again, I welcome everyone to the daily study of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in this auspicious holy month of Kartik. Tulasi kananam yatra padma vanani cha purana pathanam yatra tatra sannito hari. Shastra describes that wherever Tulasi kananam yatra, wherever there is a beautiful garden, forest garden of Tulsi flowers and Tulsi plants, and yatra padma vanani cha, and at the same time, wherever the lotus flower ponds, water ponds are found, forests with ponds where lotus flowers are found, that is Sri Vrindavan. And Purana Pathanam Yatra, and wherever Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is recited, Tatra Sannihito Hari. These are the three places where Krishna eternally resides. He resides where Tulsi lives, he resides where Vrindavan Dham is, and he resides where the study of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is undertaken. So, yesterday, we were discussing the 14th verse on the power of good association, the ill effects of bad association, and in what mood should we associate with the sadhus that Krishna blesses us in our life with. Now, that was the 14th verse of the chapter. Let's move to the 15th verse. 15th, 16th, 17th, these verses don't have a purport to Srila Prabhupada. So we will, in our daily study, we will recite those verses, study those verses on the basis of what other previous acharyas have provided us with. And then 18 onwards, Srila Prabhupada continues to comment. Text 15. एते यदा mat-suhṛdos kṛtās tadā naṣṭa-samā vrajaukasaḥ prāṇe gate varṣmasu kānu cintā prajāsavaḥ prāṇa-bhṛto hi ete. So ete, Aghasur has arrived in Vrindavan and he's looking at the boys headed by Krishna. And Aghasur is thinking, achintayat, this word has to be added, which means Aghasur is meditating, he's thinking. And what is he thinking? Ete, these boys, he's looking at these boys headed by Krishna, Krishna Pramukhan, Krishna Pradhanan, dhṛtvādbhutaṁ, Krishna Mukhan Aghasura, looking at these boys headed by Krishna. What is he thinking? What is Aghasur thinking? Mat-suhṛdos tilāpaḥ kṛtās tadā naṣṭa-samā vrajaukasaḥ. He's thinking that mat-suhṛda means my siblings, Bakasur and Putana. For the sake of my brother's death, or taking a revenge for my brother and my sister's death, Bakasur and Putana's death, tilāpaḥ kṛtās, I want to make all of them tilāpaḥ. Tila means sesame seeds and apa or udaka means water. Sesame seeds and water are used in the tarpan, the pindadan offering for the departed souls. So tilodaka or tilapa, these words represent performing the shraddha ceremony, the ceremony for the departed souls. So ete yada mat-suhṛdos tilāpaḥ kṛtās, when I will chew these boys headed by Krishna and I would crush them in my mouth, Aghasur is thinking, I will make them like sesame seeds or like water. Either it would mean I will crush them to that degree, or I will swallow them up and they will all die, and that will be my shraddha offering of revenge for the pleasure of my brother Bakasur and for the pleasure of my sister Putana. Tadā naṣṭa-samā vrajaukasaḥ. So okasa means residence. Vrajaukasa means those who live in Braja, the residents of Vrindavan. Naṣṭa-samā. So the word yadā and tadā have been used with respect to time. Srila Jiva Goswami, of course, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments yadā to be yadi. So yadā and tadā mean when I kill these boys and offer them as my revengeful, gratitude-filled offering for the the death and the departure of my brother and sister, at that time, then what will happen? These residents of Vrindavan, naṣṭa-samā, they will become as good as dead. Why? prāṇe gate varṣmasu kānu cintā prajāsavaḥ prāṇa-bhṛto hiyete. Aghasur is saying or thinking, he's speaking aloud and he's thinking in his mind, which Shukdev Goswami is able to hear and relate back to us real time. Aghasur is thinking, prajāsavaḥ. Prajasu means offsprings, children. prāṇa-bhṛta means those who bear life, those who are alive. Certainly, for those who bear life, those who are alive, for them, their life resides in their children. Everyone agrees to this fact, that every parent, their life rests in the body, in the life of their children. They live, they breathe, they sacrifice, they work, they toil, only and only for one reason, for the pleasure, for the happiness, for the smile of their child, so that there is no trouble in the life of their child. And this is found in all species. In all species. I remember seeing a little video clipping that one of my friends had sent to me a long time ago, maybe a decade ago. There was a little deer, baby deer, which had got stuck in a water pond. And there was a crocodile which was chasing. Seeing this little deer in water, the deer hadn't seen, the little deer hadn't seen. The little deer was facing probably the other way and in the water. And crocodile was chasing with great speed to catch this little deer. And the mother deer sees this from a distance. And she runs so fast and swims so fast only to come between the crocodile and the baby deer. And the crocodile ends up killing the mother deer only to leave the baby deer alive. So that video had a message that how in every species, whether it's birds, whether it's animals, whether even it's small insects, even if it's reptiles, and what to speak of human beings with developed consciousness, those who are elder to us, our grandparents, our parents, they have a natural protective instinct towards us. And it just goes from one generation to another. There was a quote that I had read many years ago, that by the time we realize with gratitude what our parents have done for us, it's too late because we are parents ourselves. Right? So only when one becomes a parent and goes through the hardships of, and it's a burden of love. It is a burden, but it's a burden of love. The parents are ready to work 2 jobs, ready to overwork, sometimes even go through so much stress at work, even the stress of being fired from your work, and get into tiffs with colleagues and sometimes even with managers. So much going on, balancing everything at home, paying off the bills, only so that the child can have a very peaceful upbringing. So this is found in all species. So by the time we realize what our parents have done, we are parents ourselves, and we are carrying our children, taking all the responsibility, shouldering all of that. And it's a burden of love. It's a burden of love. I remember a few years ago, it was a Janmashtami festival. And there was one devotee who had a little daughter. And it was Janmashtami midnight darshan. So the father was able to have darshan, of course, because of his height. But the little daughter was getting cranky because she wanted to see Krishna, midnight darshan, but she couldn't. And she was telling the father, you pick me up so that now I can see the Lord. And the father picked up the child, and the child was getting heavier with age. And he was picking up the child and he couldn't, so he balanced in the other arm and he was still picking up to see the deity. And in no time, although the child was heavy, uh, the father picked up the child on his shoulder, only so that now the child can sit and have darshan of Radha and Krishna, midnight Janmashtami darshan. And later, when I asked the devotee, he said, "Oh, the joy when my child is able to have darshan, it's inexplicable." He said, "It's the burden of love." So this is exactly what Aghasur is saying here. Prajāsavaḥ prāṇa-bhṛto hi ete, that the life of the residents of Braj, it rests in their children. And where are those children? They're all friends of Krishna. So he says, if I kill them, two things are met. Two fruits are hit with the same stone. That's one, I take revenge for the death of my siblings. And two, I destroy the whole of Vrindavan because all their children are dead. And he gives an example. He says, prāṇe gate varṣmasu kānu cintā. Prāṇe gate means if the soul leaves the body, varṣmasu kānu cintā. What is the fear from the dead body? Imagine if there's a dead body of a tiger or a lion. Nobody fears it. In fact, people may take selfies with that body. Why there's no fear? Because once the soul leaves, the body is useless. So Aghasur is saying, these children here, they are the soul of Vrindavan. The residents of Vrindavan, they become like dead bodies if these boys are killed, because they are like the living force. They are the soul. So if I destroy all of them, then I can avenge for the death of my brother and my sister. And at the same time, I destroy the whole land of Vrindavan. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, in the previous verse, Aghasur is thinking, Ayam tume sodara nashakrit tayor dvayor mamainam sabalam hanishye. He says, I will kill Krishna with his friends. This was the meditation of Aghasur in the 14th verse. But in the 15th verse, he's thinking, okay, what if I kill Krishna and what if I kill the friends? The residents of Braj are still alive and they can take on me and kill me. And then he kind of chuckles and he says, what can they do to me? If all their life rests in the body of these children and these children are killed, everyone in Braj becomes like a dead body without the soul, the life force within. Quite a wicked thought, right? Just the desire to cause harm to others, just the expression of causing hurt to others. In fact, in the Gita, we find Yasman no dvijate loko, lokan no dvijate tu yaha. Krishna has said this, harsha marsha bhayo dvegair mukta ya sachame priya. In the 12th chapter, 13th verse, Krishna has mentioned to Arjun that 15th verse actually, 12th chapter, 15th verse, Krishna tells Arjun, Yasman na udvijate lokaha. That person who doesn't trouble others, and Yasman and lokan no dvijate tu yaha, and he who's not troubled by others. Two things. The person should not trouble others. And second, he should not get agitated and provoked and irritated and troubled by the actions of others. Such a person is very dear to Krishna. Krishna mentions. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, if you actually think about it, a Vaishnava only sees Krishna in all directions. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti. So Mahatma Sudurlabha. In the 7th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, a pure Vaishnava is he who sees Krishna in all directions. He sees Krishna everywhere. Therefore, he has no trouble from anyone. He sees Krishna in everything. Aham atma guda kesha sarva bhutashaya stita. Aham adishcha madhyamcha bhutanam anta evacha. Another verse where it says that a pure devotee sees Krishna sitting in everyone's heart. And therefore, whoever does whatever to us, the living entity, the pure devotee has no problem. because he's seeing his Lord Krishna sitting in the heart of that living entity. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddesha arjuna tishtati. Another beautiful verse in the Gita, where a pure Vaishnav sees Krishna sitting in the heart of all living entities. Therefore, he has no problem from anywhere, from anyone at any time. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishta. Again, the same point. Matta-smriti jnanam apohanam cha. In the 15th chapter, Krishna says that a pure Vaishnav sees me in the heart of all living entities, and therefore he has no problem from anyone. Another beautiful verse you can see in the 6th chapter, 31st verse. Krishna says, Sarva bhuta stitam yomam bhajatye ekatvam astitah. Same point. Sarva bhuta stitam yomam. The living entity, the pure Vaishnava, he sees Krishna seated in the heart of all beings, animals, birds, insects, humans, and therefore he has no problem from anyone. He has no problem from anyone. The very famous pastime of Mrigari. You find the pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mrigari was Mriga Ari. He was the enemy of all animals. Mriga means animals and Ari means enemy. And his habit was he would not kill the animals completely. He would half kill the animals and see them struggle. And that was a source of joy. Can you believe that? Just like Aghasur. Aghasur's source of joy, he thinks he's doing good by killing others. In the Gita, as Krishna says, Sarva bhuta stitam yomam. Living entity, pure Vaishnav, sees Krishna in everyone. So in the pastime of Mrigari in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was a very wicked person. He would not kill the animals completely. He would half kill them and not hit the arrow in the heart region. He would hit the arrow in the feet and see the animals struggle. The animals would wobble to death. And Mrigari would find so much joy in that. Narad Muni intercepted his path one day. And Narad Muni saw, what is this? There's a half-killed pig or a boar. There's a half-killed rabbit. What's going on? There's a half-killed deer. He asked Mrigari, why do you do what you do? He said, well, this is my family tradition. This is what my father did, and we are hunters and we're supposed to kill animals. He said, yeah, I understand, but why do you half kill them? Why not kill them completely? And he said, well, this is how I'm taught, and this is my source of pleasure, and this is how I do it. Narad Muni preached to Mrigari that he doesn't have to live a life like this by causing hurt to others. And he told him, first thing I want you to do is break your bow. I want you to construct a tulsi plant. And I want you to chant the names of Krishna. And Mrigari exactly does that. He breaks his bow of violence. He makes a little tulsi plant in front of his cottage and he starts chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And as he continues to chant, Ahimsa Paramo Dharma, the point of non-violence starts rising in his heart. Ahimsa Satyam Akrodha Tyaga Shantira Paishunam Daya Bhuteshvaloluptam Mardavam Hrira Chapalam Teja Kshama Dhriti Shaucham Adroho Nati Manita. 16th chapter Gita. Krishna says that the quality of a Vaishnava is he doesn't hurt anybody. He cannot hurt anyone. He cannot speak something that is rude. He cannot do anything to hurt anyone. Never, never, absolutely never. To the extent one is a devotee, to that extent, one will give up the desire to have revenge, to fight back, to argue, to criticize, to blame, to complain, to settle scores. Eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. Vaishnav doesn't think like that. And this has also been one of the problems of Sanatana Dharma, let's put it like that. Because our weakness, especially those who are Kshatriyas, they're not supposed to be thinking like this. Therefore, if you see in the Gita, the same Gita that Krishna says, tells Arjuna that one should not put another person in danger, that Gita starts off by Klaibhyamamsma Gama Partha, where Krishna tells Arjuna to fight because he's a Kshatriya. And you can find in the Gita so many times, Krishna calls Arjuna Partha, 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 reminding him of his connection with Kunti Devi. Kunti Devi was a fighter. She tolerated, but she was a fighter. In fact, in the Mahabharata, there is a very historic verse where Kunti Devi, she um, pronounces a verse where she tells Arjun and Bhimsen that now the time of the battle has come. And it's not the time of the battle, Kunti says. She says, it is the time that a Kshatrani mother waits for. She bears children only so that this time can come and her sons can stand up to the occasion and fight the opposition and make dharma victorious. So those who are Kshatriyas, it is their duty. But in general, Kalo Shudra Sambhava. We are all Shudras. So let us practice some tolerance for now. So our principle is we should learn the art of tolerance and not hurt anyone by thought, word, or deed. So by the chanting process, Mrigari's heart melted. And when Narad Muni again visited Mrigari with Parvat Muni, his dear friend, Mrigari at that point, he wanted to offer obeisances to Narada Muni, but he was finding it very difficult. Why? Because there were so many ants on the floor. And Mrigari was thinking, if I offer obeisances, oh my God, I'm going to kill all these ants. So he takes his upper cloth and little by little, with his cloth, he starts to not shoo away, but politely, humbly, kindly requesting, begging, beseeching the ants, please give me some way, by some path, some space where I can bow down and offer my obeisances to Narada Muni. And Narada Muni chuckles and tells his dear Muni friend that he's the same person who at one point preferred not to kill the animals directly, but actually kill them half. And now look at the power of bhakti. Non-violence has risen to such an extent that he does not even want to kill ants on the floor. When Srila Prabhupada was asked about killing cockroaches, because of, sometimes there are too many cockroaches in the apartment, what to do, or in the temple kitchen, what to do. And when Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada did not give a definite answer. What Prabhupada said was, if the kitchen is clean, the cockroaches wouldn't come. That's all. He didn't say you can kill them, or he didn't say you shouldn't kill them. He said, well, if the kitchen is clean, the cockroaches wouldn't come. At another point, when a cockroach was found in the room, Prabhupada said, catch the cockroach and put it outside the window saying, the whole world belongs to you. And Prabhupada smiled. You can put the cockroach outside saying, the whole world belongs to you. It's quite funny. It's really funny because the whole world does belong to the cockroach more than us, because these insects, they outnumber the humans by a big proportion. So it actually belongs to them more than us. So this is the story of Mrigari. Another interesting story that comes to my mind is the story of Jad Bharat and Maharaj Rahuguna. Jad Bharat was a pure Vaishnav, and he was asked to carry the palanquin of a king called as Rahuguna. And what's interesting is when a king is carried in a palanquin or a palki, there are 4 ends to it. And 3 of them were the associates of the king, and they were carrying the palanquin properly. But here was Jad Bharat, a pure Vaishnav, and he was like a forest dweller, very stout, very strong, but was considered less intelligent. He was a pure Vaishnav, self-realized, but somehow because he didn't speak much, they thought he was dumb. So they instructed him to carry the palanquin of the king. And now he's carrying the palanquin of the king along with other assistants of the king. And all 3 of them are carrying it properly. But Jada Bharat is hopping and jumping and skipping and stopping and again jumping and taking to the side and then walking a little bit and then again stopping. It was a havoc to the palanquin. You can imagine the king was going all directions. And the king paused and he said, what's wrong? Why do I feel potholes on the road? What's going on? So they said, the 3 assistants said, well, we are carrying the palanquin properly. This guy is crazy. He's jumping and hopping and taking sides and stopping and again running. And I don't know what's wrong with him. So the king asked him, what are you doing and why are you doing what you're doing? He said, I can't walk properly because there are so many ants on the floor. And if I walk, then straight, it means I may have to kill those ants by stepping on them, and I don't want to do that. So the king asked him, so I'm the king, and those are ants on the floor, and you are ready to think about them more than think about me? I'm the king. You should think my comfort more than the comfort of the ants. Bharat said, for me, whether it's the king or whether it's the ant, it doesn't make much difference because it's just an external covering. The soul inside remains the same. The soul inside the ant and the soul inside an elephant and soul inside the body of a human, it's the soul. You can have a bigger cover as an elephant or a bigger royal crown as a king or a little body as an ant. It doesn't matter. The size of your car doesn't define the driver, right? So the bodies that we are in, they are like the size of the cars, different colors and different shapes and different sizes, but the driver, the soul remains the same. Now, this was completely outlandish for the king. He had never seen, heard, experienced a forest dweller speak like this. He said, who are you and what are you speaking? And Bharat takes this as an opportunity to instruct the king. And it goes over the king's head, and the king says, can you repeat? I don't understand. And Bharat repeats his instructions again. And it happens multiple times in the Bhagavatam. And then finally, Rahugana, the king, he bows down to Mother Earth and he says, I don't know how many pure devotees are walking on the planet incognito. This Bharat appears jad, inert and dull, but he seems to be a pure devotee. I don't know how many more pure devotees I have or will see in my life whom I don't recognize. If they come with tilak and kantimala, we of course respect, but many times they may just come in without the tilak and the kantimala. It's possible. And how do I recognize? Like if Jatayu came in front of us, we wouldn't recognize him, right? Because we would think he's just a vulture. So it's very difficult to recognize pure devotees. But one thing that can be found in them is because of the presence of devotion, they are decorated with all good qualities. And one such quality is they will not hurt anybody. In contrast to Aghasur, who's thinking of not just killing Krishna and Krishna's friends, but actually destroy the whole village of Vrindavan. So this is demoniac mentality. In this connection, one more thing can be thought of. That is the offense of Indra, because we are one hand distance from Govardhan Puja. Diwali and Govardhan Puja are fast approaching. So when we think about the pastime of Indra trying to instigate a violent act of showering rain for 7 days and 7 nights with the desire to destroy Vrindavan, our acharyas have given a very wonderful explanation. They have compared Indra's pastime to Brahma's pastime. Now, Brahma's pastime of stealing the calves, Brahma Vimohan Leela, and Indra's pastime of destroying Vrindavan, attempting to destroy Vrindavan. If we actually compare, Brahma's offense seems to be nothing because he's just taking he's not even killing them. He's simply taking some calves from place A and placing them in place B only to come and see if Krishna is God. That's all. So it's thanantara. He's just, he's just shipping those calves from one place to another. That's it. Brahma is not doing anything offensive, right? Seems like. And on the other hand, if you see, Indra's offense seems to be horrifying. His attempt to kill everyone in Vrindavan and flood Vrindavan with torrents of destructive water, which means his desire was to destroy the whole of Braj with Nanda and Yashoda and Radharani and Shamsundar and all the Sakhis and all the Sakhas. Oh, very offensive. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a perspective which is beyond our ability. He writes that between the two, Brahma's offense was way more intense than Indra's. Why? Because Indra's attempt, of course, was to kill the Brajbasis and destroy Vrindavan. But what did he accidentally, inadvertently end up doing? He ended up bringing the whole of Vrindavan under one roof of Giriraj Govardhan. And it's a known understanding through the commentaries of the Acharyas that Krishna would spend time with the Gopas, and he would spend time with the Gopis, and he would spend time with Mother Yashoda, and he would spend time with Balaram, and he would spend time with the calves, but not spend all his time with everyone at the same time. So that was the desire in the hearts of the residents of Braj. So during those 7 days of Indra's outburst and downpour of divine ecstatic rains, for 7 days, day and night, the residents of Vrindavan were all locked up. There was a lockdown. They were all locked down under the wonderful roof of Govardhan. So nowadays we have little children, they say, Mama, can I go to my friend's house? Can I have a night out? Can I spend all day? And can I also spend some night with them and playing, talking? So this, I'm not supporting this idea, but I'm saying that's also not a new idea. It comes from Vrindavan, where they wanted to spend time with Krishna all day and night, and not 1 day, but 7 days. And Indra's intention was to destroy, but it just ended up pleasing the Brajbasis and Krishna. And therefore, in 7 verses, Indra was forgiven. On the other hand, Brahma's offense externally seems to be very simple, but actually it was taking Krishna's friends away from him, taking the calves away from Krishna. And therefore, Brahmaji had to chant a whole chapter of Stuti, the 14th chapter of the 10th canto. And still Krishna was not very happy, because you took my devotees away from me. So the point we are trying to make in our practical life, from Aghasur, from Mrigari, from Jada Bharat, from the conversation of Krishna and Arjun, from the comparative study of Brahma and Indra's offense, is we should never hurt the devotees. Not just the devotees, we should not hurt anybody, absolutely anybody. There could be somebody who's not a devotee, who's not chanting Hare Krishna, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. They belong to Krishna as much as we belong to Krishna, right? And those who are chanting and worshipping Krishna today, maybe 10 lifetimes ago, they weren't. And those who aren't worshipping Krishna today, it's possible 2 lifetimes from now, they will. So the devotees of today were non-devotees in the past. And those who are apparently non-devotees today, they're potential devotees in their next life. So, kahare na kare ninda, Krishna Krishna bole, Ajaya Chaitanya Shai Jini beka hole, Vaishnaver gunagrahi na dekhaye dosh, Kaya manavakya kare, Vaishnava santosh. Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita describe, we don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to be like Aghasur, being in Vrindavan, in the association of devotees, looking at Krishna and still having a wrong mentality, holding grudge against Vaishnavas. Of course, we may not kill Vaishnavas, but hanti nindanti vaidveshti Vaishnava nabhinandati, kridyate yati no harsham darshane patanani shat. The Skanda Puran describes there are 6 ways we can act like Aghasur. What are those 6 ways? Punching a devotee, or killing a devotee, slapping a devotee, physically assaulting a devotee. That's one. Nindanti, to criticize a Vaishnava. That's another. Dveshti, we don't hit him, we don't criticize him, but in our mind, we are envious of him or her. And kridyate, to get angry at a Vaishnava, not respect a Vaishnava and bow down to a Vaishnava. Well, that's 5. And the 6th one, yati no harsham. When a Vaishnava comes our way, we are not happy seeing them. And we say, this person talks a lot. Oh, she is very irritating. Or he takes a lot of my time. Oh, better I not see that person. And then we kind of take a right turn or a left turn. Those are Aghasur mentality. So as we study Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, what is the purpose of studying Shastra? It is not scholarship. It is not to understand of course, Sanskrit is the Deva Vani, is the language through which Shastra has been presented. But our purpose of studying Shastra is not to be scholars. It is not just to relish the words from different angles of vision, but actually to learn the ideal principles of Vaishnava behavior on the basis of which we can live our lives with integrity. That's the purpose of Shastra. It is change of heart. It is not intellectual gratification. It is actually change of heart. It is better responses to circumstances. So here, Aghasur, he is saying, Ete yada mat-suhṛdos tilāpaḥ kṛtās tadā naṣṭa-samā vrajaukasaḥ prāṇe gate varṣmasu kānu cintā prajāsavaḥ prāṇa-bhṛto hiyete. I will destroy and swallow and finish all of these people. And then I will be so happy because Vrindavan is finished. And at the same time, my sister and my brother from heaven, they will be showering flowers of love on me, Aghasura is thinking. And thinking like this, text 16, iti vyavasyājagaraṁ bṛhad vapuḥ sa yojanāyāma-mahādri-pīvaram dhṛtvādbhutaṁ vyātta-guhānanaṁ tadā pathi vyaśeta grasanāśayā khalaḥ. Thinking like this, iti vyavasya, which means vyavasaya, having considered this thought process, achintayat, Aghasur meditated on this. Iti means in this way, Aghasur thought. Shukdev Goswami is speaking about Aghasur's thought and then he says iti. So now we come out of the bubble of Aghasur's thought and we come to Shukdev Goswami's thought process. He says iti vyavasya, having considered and decided like this, ajgaram bṛhad vapuḥ sa yojanāyāma-mahādri-pīvaram dhṛtvādbhutaṁ vyātta-guhānanaṁ tadā. Dhṛtva. Dhṛtva means he assumed, he accepted. So he's not a snake. When he came from Mathura to Vrindavan, he didn't slither his way on the road. He is a proper demon. But at this point in the 16th verse of the 12th chapter, having considered what to do, what not to do, how to do, what to do, Dhṛtva, he accepted. What did he accept? Bṛhad vapuḥ. He accepted a very huge, humongous, mountain-like form. Very big form. Vapu means body and bṛhad with a T. Bṛhad means big. And of course, because the word vapu has come, it has become bṛhad. So he accepted a big form. What form did he accept? Ajgaram. Ajgara means that of a snake, the body of a snake. Of course, the word Ajgara has a few meanings, at least a couple of good meanings. We will talk about that later as the suspense builds, as Krishna starts stepping into his mouth. I feel like having like trumpets and shenai and drums here behind just to create, at the time when Krishna starts walking into the mouth of Aghasur, that's like the heartbeat of the katha for 1 month. But hold on. We're getting there. Slowly but surely we're getting there. Iti vyavasya ajgaram bṛhad vapuḥ. Having considered what to do, Aghasur, he assumed a big gigantic form of a snake, Ajgara. And how was the snake? Mahādri-pīvaram. He looked like a Adri. Adri means a mountain. Therefore, Govardhan is called Hantayam Adri Abala Haridasavaryo. This mountain is considered to be the greatest among devotees. Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. But he now, back to Aghasur, he accepted the form of a Mahādri-pīvaram, a very great, humongous mountain. And was not just tall, but he was also very long. How long was he? Ayama, how was his length? Sa yojana, he was 1 yojan. 1 yojan is 8 miles long. 8 miles. That's how long he was. Deep into the forest of Braj. Shukdev Goswami himself says, Adbhutam, this form was astonishing. Imagine if Shukdev Goswami, who has seen everything, he has to describe a certain form and says, Adbhut, wow, it was amazing. It was very big. It was humongous. He was tall. So this desire of seeing skyscrapers, going downtown to different cities and looking at tall skyscrapers, and desire to go and watch Burj Khalifa and all of these tall mountains. Where does that come from? It comes from Krishna and his friends who want to see a big mountain. It's like the biggest skyscraper they see in Braj. It's long, it's wide, it's tall, it's exciting. Wow, it's astonishing. Adbhutam. And vyātta-guhānanaṁ. Vyātta-guhānanaṁ. Anana means mouth, like Gajanana, he who has a face of an elephant, right? Ganesh, Gajanana. So Anana means face or mouth. Vyātta-guhānanaṁ. His mouth was wide. It was wide, in one consideration, at the same time wide in the other, in both dimensions. And it was like a big cave. And in that form, khalaḥ, that wicked person, envious person, Aghasur, pathi means pathpar, on the path. The English word path, P-A-T-H, comes from the word path of Sanskrit. So pathi, on the path, vyaśeta, he laid down. The snake laid down on the path. For what reason? Grasanāśayā, to absorb all the joy in the life of the boys and actually swallow them down the throat, to actually chew them and crush them. The boys have come for their breakfast. Here Aghasur is thinking of the boys as his breakfast. And in no time you will see Krishna will swallow Aghasur. Not literally swallow, but in Hindi, as they say, kha liya. Aghasur ko Thakur ji ne kha liya. Krishna will absolve Aghasur of all his sins, all his wrongdoings, and swallow him up completely and finish his material body. So here, as Aghasur lays down with a desire to swallow the boys, it's worthwhile to note, why did Aghasur, of all the species, pick to be a snake? Why did he pick to be a snake? He could have become anything. Now for this, we get to the writings of Srila Jiva Goswami. Ready, everyone? Srila Jiva Goswami Pad has written a little section. I'm going to read the Sanskrit, and line by line we will discuss. And this is also in line with Kamsanushishtaha, which means Aghasur was actually inspired by Kamsa. So this is a conversation between Kamsa and Aghasur. The pre-event conversation. Before Aghasur is sent to Braj, Kamsa and Aghasur are having a conversation. So we will see why the snake, and we'll also see how Kamsa, quote unquote, inspired him to come to Braj. So I'm reading from the middle section, just pertaining to what we're discussing. Vatsapaleshu baki bakayor anujaha kaschid agha nama danujastad vartmani vartate sma jyotir mandaleshu prachanda kala jalada iva. So Jiva Goswami Pad says, Baki Bakayor Anujaha, that younger brother of Putana and Bakasur, Kaschid Agha Nama, whose name was Agha. Kaschid means he was some guy with the name Agha. Or it could also mean, I don't know who named him Agha. How can someone have a name called Agha, which means he who is very sinful? Generally, in Vedic culture, you name a person according to the characteristics you want the person to have. Somebody is named Padmalochan, for example, which means, oh dear child, you have eyes like lotus, right? Or some girl would be called Sushila, which means she who's going to be of good character, etc. But who names somebody as Agha, which means sinful? So anyway, that's unknown. So therefore, Kaschit Agha Nama Danuja Tad Vartmani Vartate Sma. That Aghasur, Vartmani Vartate Sma, he situated himself on the pathway, in the forest of Vrindavan, exactly the section that we are reading. And how did he look? Jyotir Mandaleshu Prachanda Kala Jalada Iva. It seemed as if the sky was filled with the moon, which means Krishna is like the moon and all the friends are like twinkling stars, and they're all happy in their twinkling excitement, moonbeams. And amidst all this, let's say if there's a dark cloud who comes and covers the moon and covers the twinkling stars, it's a sign of inauspiciousness. So Jyotir Mandaleshu, it's almost like in the cosmic sky, Prachanda Kala Jalada Iva. Aghasur's presence was like a very inauspicious black cloud covering the moon and covering the enthusiasm of the twinkling stars. Now, Jiva Goswami backtracks to the conversation of Aghasur with Kamsa before Aghasur was sent to Braj. Yam khalu kamsaha shamsa aye madiya mahasahaya vismayam apahaya shruyatam. Oh dear Aghasur, Kamsa is saying, in this conversation goes on in Mathura. Oh dear Aghasur, madiya mahasahaya, oh my best friend, oh my ever well-wishing assistant, Kamsa is calling Aghasur. And he says, Vismayam apahaya shruyatam. Please listen to my words with rapt attention. Give up distraction and laziness and listen to me, O Aghasur. Tvam ajgara bhavena sada jagara rahita eva. You are always like a snake. Kamsa is saying that Tvam ajgara bhavena, in the mood of a snake, a lazy, sluggish, a python who swallows a goat or a big animal, can't even move. It's just sluggish and it's almost dead and dull on the floor. So it seems like Aghasur was very lazy. He would sleep a lot. That's what it's described here. Jiva Goswami Pad says, Shāṣayyamāna ta nishtam tishtan ajanasi iti hitvam jagarayāmasishe. That, oh dear Aghasur, you have been sleeping for a long time in the mood of a snake. Therefore, I wake you up to reality, because there's lots that has happened while you have been asleep. Agha uvacha. Now Aghasur told Kamsa, Hey Jagadisha, kamam adishyatam. Oh dear Kamsa, oh Lord of the universe, please enlighten me. Tell me what happened. What are the changes that have happened in this world while I have been asleep? Jiva Goswami. Atha devaki vivaha gataha nabhasabhya vanim arabhya sarva katha samshana purvakam Kamsa uvacha. Kamsa spoke the whole katha, starting from the aerial voice during the marriage of Devaki. Devaki vivaha gataha nabhasabhya vanim arabhya sarva katha samshana purvakam Kamsa uvacha. Kamsa spoke to Aghasur all the pastimes. He was speaking Harikatha. It is so amazing that even Kamsa and Aghasur can't keep quiet, but vibrate their tongues, speaking the names and qualities and pastimes of Krishna. Only then can you enter Braj, right? What was the qualification of Aghasur to enter Vrindavan? He heard Harikatha with great details. And whom did he hear Harikatha from? He heard Harikatha from a person whose mind was attached to Krishna. Maybe unfavorably, but it was attached to Krishna. And Kamsa couldn't forget Krishna. Kamat, dveshat, bhayat, krodhat. Yatha bhakti shvare mana. Bhagavatam describes, even if someone has the mood of Kamsa, which means extreme fear of Krishna, still, one thing is for sure, Kamsa was so afraid of Krishna that he couldn't stop himself but think about Krishna constantly. He couldn't forget Krishna. And now Aghasur is woken up. Nidra chhadi utho agha. Oh, Aghasur, wake up. Give up your sleep. Agha jago, agha jago. Kamsa Chandra bole. Kamsa is waking up Aghasur and saying, please wake up to the reality and I will speak Harikatha to you. And he's speaking about Krishna. Of course, in a very unfavorable way, but he was still speaking about Krishna. And now he says, look at this. Jiva Goswami writes, Tadevam pratyekam nūtana arabdham isha vishaya putanadishu dhūta phala prayasadishu. He explains all the pastimes, especially stressing his attention on Putana's pastime, because Putana is the sister of Aghasur. And he says, Vishamaya Putanadishu, that he explains how Putana smeared poison and still dhuta phala prayasadi. The fruits of all her hard work was fruitless. Dhuta phala. All the prayasa, all her hard work went into vain because this Krishna made all her hard work go fruitless. And now he says, Bhavan adya anavadya agati. Oh, Aghasur, now I am waking you up to this reality. I want you to act. Stand up to the occasion and do the needful. Stand up for your sister, stand up for your brother, and for your best friend Kamsa. We need you now. It's quite astonishing that Kamsa at that point compares Aghasur to Kumbhakarna. Why? Because he says, like Kumbhakarna, O Aghasur, you've been sleeping and you have not known how your dear brothers have been attacked Your family has been attacked and you're very strong. Please wake up and fight Ram. But here Ram has come as Balaram's brother. Ram, Krishna. Ram has come as Shyam. So wake up. So he tried to call him Kumbhakarna. But guess what? Jiva Goswami Pad says, comes a thought to himself. If I call him Kumbhakarna, no, that's not good. Because Kumbhakarna was killed. So it's almost like I am going to be like Ravan, sending my Aghasur like Kumbhakarna to be killed by Ram. No, that's not a good example. Then he said, no, I have to talk about some other demon who is much more powerful than Kumbhakarna and who could even have the power to destroy Indra. Jiva Goswami Pad says, Ihacha, now please pay attention, it's very beautiful. Ihacha Ravanasya Kumbha iti ardho ukta. In the mood of Ravan, Kamsa starts saying Kumbhakarna to Aghasur. And ardha uktam, just by saying Kumbha, he realizes, no, that example is wrong. So he corrects himself because he feels this is inauspicious to send a messenger and compare him to a dead person. Abhiyat cha adya purvesham purva devanam vritra iva iti api. Now he calls him Vritrasur because Vritrasur was a powerful demon and he was so powerful he could even gulp and accept Indra in his mouth and spit him out. That's how powerful he was. So he says Vritrasur, but just like he couldn't say Kumbhakarna, he just said Kumbha. And he changed his example to Vritrasur. But then even there, he's not able to say. He says Vritra and then realizes, well, even Vritrasur was killed. So then what does he do? Look at this. Dhruvam dhruvasyeva tava cha atra bhratra mitra niryatanam avashyam avashyatam arhati iti. He says, oh, Aghasur, you are like Dhruva Maharaj. Why? Because Dhruva Maharaj's brother Uttam, when he was killed by the Yakshas, what did Dhruva Maharaj do? He waged a war against the Yakshas just for the sake of revenging the death of his brother. And the good thing is, Dhruva Maharaj lived eternally and is eternally glorious. And Dhruva means he's eternal and at the same time, he's determined. He was very austere, very powerful. And he won over the praise of the whole world. He was alive, not killed. So it was the best of all the examples that Kamsa could catch. So he says, Dhruvam dhruvasyeva tava cha atra bhratra mitra. And look at the love he had for his brother, Uttam. Dhruva Maharaj was ready to fight a battle for his brother. For you, Aghasur, it's not just a brother, it's a brother and a sister. Therefore, avashyatam arhati. Therefore, it is very necessary that you give the killer of your brother and sister the right deserving type of treatment. Tadevam bhavya prasavyam api upalabhya sputam asabhyataya shikramasau baka bhratrikah krishna bhratrikanam tesham puratah pracharan prachuratārangam. Jiva Goswami Pad says Thitaha. He says that after Kamsa spoke like this to Aghasur and instigated and incited him with all bad words, Aghasur was convinced that I must act like Dhruva for his brother Uttam. I have to act for my brother Bakasur and my sister Putana. And how am I supposed to do it? Go and kill the enemy with his brothers. And who are the brothers for Krishna? All his cowherd boys. So now he combined two things. The inspiration of Kamsa and at the same time, Kamsa's example that you've been like a snake, very sluggish, very sleepy and lazy. So he used that example to his fullest capability and capacity. And he said, now I will become a snake. And for the sake of my brother, swallow my enemy with his brother. And we will see what happens. So then, as Aghasur lays down on the pathway of Vrindavan, Shukdev Goswami says how big and how gigantically humongous was Aghasur. He says, dharādharoṣṭho jaladottaroṣṭho, verse 17. dary-ānanānto giri-śṛṅga-daṁṣṭraḥ, dhvāntāntar-āsyo vitatādhva-jihvaḥ, paruṣānila-śvāsa-davekṣaṇoṣṇaḥ. Oh, very interesting descriptions. Kavi Karnapuran Alankar Kaustubh, he calls different ornaments of metaphors and similes. And this is quite an interesting example where a verse has been used with so many metaphors, so many comparative similes. When Aghasur laid on the floor, on the dust of Braj, dharādharoṣṭho jaladottaroṣṭho, his lower lip touched the ground and his upper lip touched the clouds. So dhara adharoṣṭha, his adhara uṣṭha, his lower lip touched dhara, Mother Earth. My Guru Maharaj explains why. He says Aghasur was thinking, if I open my mouth just with some gap between the lower lip and the ground, he was thinking these kids are so small and cute, they may slip between the gap of my lower lip and the ground. So he wanted to seal the environment by placing his lower lip on Mother Earth. Dhara adharoṣṭha and jalada uttaroṣṭha. Uttaroṣṭha means upper lip. It expanded and touched the cloud on the top. It really was a big mountain cave. And dary-ānanānta, his anananta inside his mouth, dary-ānanānta giri-śṛṅga-daṁṣṭraḥ. Daṁṣṭra means teeth. Inside his anananta, inside his mouth, he had śṛṅga-daṁṣṭra. Śṛṅga-daṁṣṭra means very sharp teeth, very sharp, pointed canine teeth. Not just the canine, every teeth was like that. Every tooth was like that, very sharp. Giri-śṛṅga. It was like, the word Śṛṅga has two meanings actually. Giri-śṛṅga means the peak of a mountain. Peak of a mountain. And śṛṅga-daṁṣṭra, Śṛṅga also means horns of a bull. Śṛṅga-agni-dam shriyasi jala. It is described in Bhāgavatam that Krishna as a baby would go and touch the horns of a bull just to see how sharp they were. As a baby, he was so mischievous. So the word Śṛṅga means peaks of a mountain, but it also means the sharp horns of a bull. So Aghasur's mouth, teeth, the teeth in the mouth, we can compare to both of them. They were tall like peaks of a mountain, but at the same time, they were sharp like the horns of a bull. They were very sharp in the mouth. And dhvāntāntar-āsyo vitatādhva-jihvaḥ. The mouth inside was so dark in avidya. It looked like a cave. And vitatādhva-jihvaḥ. His tongue was wide, thick, and very long. It was almost like a red carpet entry to the kids. And the kids, they're in the next verse, they're going to see this and they will start speaking to one another what is going on. So this long tongue, thick, wide, long tongue is like a red carpet. Dear boys, welcome. Enter. This is a new cave. You haven't seen this cave in Braj. You have never come this deep into the forest. This is a very interesting cave. So lower lip touches the ground, the upper lip touches Mother Earth. The mouth is full of darkness and it's like a cave where the tooth, each tooth is sharp and it's tall like a mountain peak. And at the same time, the red tongue is very wide and long. And paruṣānila-śvāsa-davekṣaṇoṣṇaḥ. Quite interesting. There was very horrible, bad breath coming from his mouth. And that was being carried by the breeze. So it almost seemed that it's coming from the cave. Many times, well, the breeze, the air is untouched. If you give him a flower, he will carry the fragrance. And if you give him garbage, he will carry the stink, right? So in the 11th canto, in the 24 gurus of the Avadut Brahman, the context of the breeze has been given. that the breeze is untouched. He just carries what is on his way, but he's not attached to a certain flower, or he's not attached to a certain forest. He just keeps moving. So a sadhu should be like that. He carries the goodness around, but he's not attached to anyone. So paruṣānila-śvāsa. This Aghasur is breathing in and breathing out very heavily. And there's a lot of stink coming from his mouth. And it seems like the breeze is carrying the stink of a cave. And dhvāntāntar-āsyo. His eyes were on fire. His eyes were on fire. It looked as if on the top of the cave there was a forest fire that had been caused. So this Aghasur has been described with his lower lip, with his upper lip, with the darkness in his mouth, with the breathing, with the fire spark in his eyes, with his large tongue, with his teeth. And he lays there in the ground of Braj, ready to accept Krishna in his mouth. Dear devotees, we always learn how not to be from these demons. But we can also learn something very interesting from Aghasur, which is important on the path of sadhana. On the path of sadhana, it is very important to chant like Aghasur. See, Krishna and his holy name are non-different. And with Krishna, Namnamakari Bahudan Nija Sarva Shakti. In Krishna's holy name, Krishna has all his energies. He has all his Shakti. So that's like Krishna with the cowherd boys and the calves. When we sit to chant japa, we should be like Aghasur. What does that mean? You sit there with your mouth open and don't move. Aghasur did not move. Aspandanatvam, it is described by Srila Jiva Goswami in the commentary. Spandanam means to move. Aspandanam means without movement. Aghasur sat on that floor, although for a snake, it's very natural to keep moving, to keep slithering. But Aghasur changed his nature. He changed his nature. He sat there, although it's very natural for him to keep moving because he's very restless. But to get his job done, he was sitting there with his mouth wide open, waiting for Krishna to enter his mouth with all his boys and with all the calves. And he sat there without even the blinking of the eyelid. Because if he blinks his eyelids, these boys will know that this is not a cave. This is not a cave. So he sat there with his mouth open, teaching us when we sit to chant japa, don't chant in your mind. Chant with your mouth wide open. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Doesn't mean you have to keep your mouth wide open like Aghasur. It means we have to audibly chant and sit there without movement like Aghasur did. Not that we keep fidgeting around while chanting. We keep looking at our phone. We keep looking at the wall clock. We keep looking at who's coming in, who's going out of the temple hall to see who's sleeping, who's chanting. No, we have to be like Aghasur. We pray at this point to the pages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that may I develop at least that good quality of Aghasur, to hear about Krishna and the desire to find Krishna in Braj and have the patience that I'm not going to go and swallow him because I can't find my way out. You see, it's not that by chanting hundreds and hundreds of rounds by my own effort, I can catch Krishna. It's not possible. We have to have the patience of Aghasur. We have to sit there with enthusiasm, but with patience. We sit there with sincerity, praying for Krishna's holy name to enter our mouth. We put our effort, like Mother Yashoda. She tried her best to bind Gopal, Damodar, but it was not happening. But then looking at the parishramam, drishtva parishramam Krishna kripaya asitsva bandhane. Seeing the hard work of Mother Yashoda, Krishna showered his mercy, and that's how he was bound. So we want to be like Aghasur, sit there and without movement, without scratching, without opening our eyes, without fiddling around, without standing up, walking around, laying down, checking our phone, not like that. During japa, we sit there like a statue, like Aghasur, and we are chanting audibly and hearing Krishna's name, begging Krishna and his energies to enter our heart, like how Aghasur was praying. That's the good thing for us to pray, right? And the thing not so good that we learn from this section of Aghasur is giving up of hypocrisy. Aghasur was something else, but was acting as something else just to get the attention from the boys around. He wanted to get the attention of the boys. So if he comes as a demon, they wouldn't accept him. So he faked to be something very attractive, which he was not. So that mentality is something that we can learn from this section to overcome. We don't want to attract the boys around us, the world around us, by faking on a bṛhad vapuḥ. Iti vyavasyājagaraṁ bṛhad vapuḥ. We don't want to accept a big, humongous body as a social media figure when actually that's not our actual identity. We want to be true to our identity. We don't want to fake something that we are not. That's one thing to learn from Aghasur, how not to be. And one thing that we can learn from Aghasur, how to be, is to be very patient, yet enthusiastic in all our services. You're sitting in a Bhagavatam class, sit there and attentively hear. You're sitting to study Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, sit there with attention. You're sitting to chant japa, sit there like Aghasur, with patience that, Krishna, may you enter my heart. May you enter my heart, my Lord. I know I can't make my way to you. May you make your way to me. May you make your way to me. I can't make my way up to you. I can't. A little child can never climb up the shoulder of the father, never. But if the father sits down and picks the child on his shoulder, then it's possible. So if a child tries to think that I can actually climb my way up to the shoulder of the father, it's not possible. But if he sits there and cries to his father, please help me, then the father will sit down and pick him up. That's the path of bhakti. That's the path of bhakti. We can't get to Krishna on our endeavor. Oh, with our accomplishments, our skills, our talent, none of that can attract Krishna's heart. But if we can sincerely humble ourselves and pray like a child, then Krishna, our Supreme Father, will pick us up on his shoulder, and we get to his shoulder not on our merit, but on his compassion. And that's what Aghasur is teaching us. You can't go and swallow Krishna like how Bakasur did. He failed. But if you sit there with a sincere desire, Krishna will enter your mouth. Surpanakha tried to be like Bakasur. She tried to make her way to Ram, right? She tried to run to Ram, but it didn't work out. But our mood is not to be like Surpanakha, running towards Ram. Our mood is to be like Shabari. We sit there patiently and wait for Krishna, but not that you sit there patiently watching TV. We sit there patiently chanting his names, serving him with the desire, my Lord, I can't get to you, but if you are kind enough, you please enter my heart. So that's the take-home lesson that we learn from this section of Aghasur's sitting on the dust of Braj. And tomorrow we will continue from this section, and we will see the boys are going to start talking about who is this and what is this and how is this. And we'll all be there hearing live from Shukdev Goswami as he relays live from the boys of Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.